elderly. But the man that you grew up encountering, because I didn't see much of his exploits, the man that you grew up encountering was a man who couldn't even throw a blow because of a disease called Parkinson's. That's what we are talking about this morning. And I've been joined in studio by two people from our neighbors, Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Dr. David, is it Brody? Brody
Mens, yeah.
Okay, Brody Mens, who is neurologist, head of stroke units of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, movement disorder specialist. Nice to you, Doc.
Good to be here.
Yeah. And Henrietta Badu. Did I get that right? Badu. Okay. Who is physiotherapist or movement disorders physiotherapist, Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Nice to have the two of you in studio. And
good
welcome.
to be here.
Yes.
Also to add that we also represent the Parkinson's Disease Support Group of Ghana.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Parkinson's Disease Support Group of Ghana.
Yeah.
Since you have said that, Doc, introduce us to that group. Exactly what is that group?
I think I'll let Henrietta take this.
Okay.
Okay, so the Parkinson's Disease Support Group Ghana is an NGO found here in Accra.
Okay.
We meet once a month, every first Saturday of the month at Abilene Bay Baptist House. And we mostly do a lot of journey with persons diagnosed with Parkinson's disease to let them know they are not alone. So during our meeting, it's a highly confidential meeting where we offer them a lot of support to get their questions answered. Because when diagnosed with Parkinson's, there are a lot of quiet worries, a lot of questions, and all that bothers them. So over there are experiences shared by like people who also have Parkinson's. They are caregivers, they are friends, family, and everyone is welcomed. So it's a strict confidential meeting where much access to information can be had. So usually we also have our health professional who volunteers to also come and give educational talks and then access to care. Yeah.
Well, since I'm on that, how did the Parkinson's support group start? A bit of history, background. How did it start and how have you kept it going?
Okay, so we are in our 11th year, actually.
11 years?
Yes. It's been a journey and it's been a fruitful one. So it started with a person who also is living with Parkinson's disease, Mr. Jarvis Jokoto. So he had that passion of bringing other persons who also have the condition to also share experience and journey together, because a disease that doesn't have a cure usually has a lot of worries with it. So we have strived with a lot of support from persons who actually want to champion the care for Parkinson's and then affect lives positively. Yes.
Well, now let's come to the disease. I don't know whether to do this with Doc or to still stay with you, because I wanted to find out how widespread it is when it comes to Ghana's case specifically. Because, like I said, the only encounter that I was watching Muhammad Ali. I don't know anybody until recently about Mr. Franklin Kujo. When I heard about it, that I could say this person has Parkinson's disease. How widespread is it in Ghana?
We're still doing studies to find out exactly what the prevalence is in our country. We do have some studies that have been done at the hospital, specifically the neurology clinic at both Konfanoche and the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. There we get to see about an average of about 4 to 5 cases every week who are usually diagnosed. And in terms of neurological disorders in total, it makes up about 15 to 16% of the cases that we see in a week.
15 to 16%?
Yes, in a week. Yeah, but again, like I said, that is just at the hospital level. At the home level, we're still studying to find out exactly what the prevalence is.
Okay. Why is it difficult? Is it a lack of knowledge of the disease, or what makes it difficult? Because in most cases, you are able to tell when it comes to diseases. Maybe you have a small number falling out, but majority of it ends up at the hospital. What's the situation in Parkinson's?
Well, it's actually one of the reasons why we are here. So,
Mhm.
one of the challenges is the lack of awareness.
Okay.
A lot of people think that as you grow older, it's okay or it's expected for you to become slower and then maybe have some movement challenges.
Okay.
While that is, like I said, some amount of slowing may be expected, but getting slow to the point that you're unable to carry out your daily activities, you're unable to move without requiring assistance, or you have what we call tremors. That's the shaking of usually the
Okay.
hand or a part of the body.
Okay.
When those things come, those could be signs that you have Parkinson's disease. Or because people don't know about it, a lot of times they're just managing. They don't really seek out professional help or come to the hospital. So that lack of awareness is one of the challenges. The second challenge too is education of our um, what I say our primary health workers. So the people who see the condition in the first time usually are the people maybe in the community hospitals, in our different polyclinics. They need to be able to identify it and diagnose it. And then some of the other challenges we'll talk about, things like cost of doing the investigations to get diagnosed, getting an appointment to see a specialist. All those things can be barriers to preventing the diagnosis.
I see. Now let's come to the disease itself. What is Parkinson's?
Okay. So it's a progressive neurodegenerative disorder that affects the nerves in the brain,
Okay.
specifically in certain parts that control or coordinate movement.
Okay.
So, and each of those words are important. So, the fact that it's progressive means that it's something that usually starts slowly, begins to get worse, and progresses throughout the person's life.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not one of those conditions that you get it and then it's the same way throughout. It slowly tends to get worse.
Okay.
And then the neurodegenerative part refers to the fact that different brain cells in different parts of the brain that control movement, especially, are the ones that start going first. Eventually, it may spread to other areas and affect other brain functions as well.
So it's basically about movement.
It's that's the main thing that people notice. There are other things it also affects, but the main thing that people notice and helps us with the diagnosis is how it affects movement.
So what are the signs and symptoms you see very early on?
So early on actually may not actually be movement. So over time, due to research, if we've come to realize that there are some things that happen before even the movement starts to take place.
Okay.
One of the two most common ones are what we call REM sleep behavioral disorder. A big term, but it simply means that for some people, they will notice that they move a lot in their sleep. Sometimes they act out their dreams. Sometimes they have problems and falling out of bed. They may hit their partners because they're moving a lot during their sleep. Now, not to alarm everybody, it doesn't mean that if you do that, you'll by all means develop Parkinson's disease, but it's noticed that it might be a risk for some people. So, and then some people get things like difficulty with their smell or constipation. So some of these things can precede. But the main thing that we use for the diagnosis and the hallmark is the movement problems. And for the movement problems, there are three main things, which is the stiffness, or what we call rigidity in medical terms, which just means that movement becomes, there's a lot of resistance to movement. The tremor, which is the shaking, usually of a hand or some other body part. And then sometimes people have very slow movements, what we call bradykinesia in the medical parlance, meaning that their movements are a lot slower than they used to be. And then in the later stages of the disease, they may have problems with their balance, they may have frequent falls. So these are the things we look out for usually to make the diagnosis.
Is it the same with everybody?
No. Parkinson doesn't affect any two people the same way. Some people may have more of the stiffness. Some people may have more of the what we call the tremor rigidity type pattern. And then also for the non-motor parts that I mentioned earlier, some people have different combinations of those as well. So really, it's not something that you say because this person had this, I'll also, or somebody else who has it will present the same way. It even comes down to treatment too, because people present differently with different combinations. We can't treat everybody exactly the same way.
And there's something that is it called risk factors?
Yes.
Okay. So there are two things that I've noticed when it comes to this kind of education. They talk about age groups, then there's a conversation around the risk factors. Those two things, is it particular to people within a certain age bracket?
I think I like the way you're approaching this. I think you have a lot of knowledge on the on the risk factors
To be very frank, I mean-
already. Yes, yes. So for risk factors, there are two broad ways we group it.
Okay.
We have what we call modifiable and non-modifiable.
Okay.
So for the non-modifiable means that there's not much you can do about those ones.
Okay.
There are things that are inherent in you. So the three main things for Parkinson's disease is age, sex, and genetics.
Okay.
So the age means as you grow older, you're more likely to develop a neurodegenerative condition like Parkinson's disease. The risk is higher for older people. So usually once you get into your 60s, age of 65, then the risk also goes up. Sex, it's slightly more common in males as opposed to females.
Okay.
Depending on which particular group that has been studied, people have found that it could be anything between 1.5 times to 1.2 times more likely. So slightly more in males. And then genetics, meaning that if you have somebody in your family who has been affected, there's a slightly higher, not dramatically higher, but slightly higher chance that you may also be affected. So those ones, you can't do anything about it. Those are non-modifiable. Then the modifiable ones are the things you can change. So there have been some things like environmental exposures. So people who work with a lot of pesticides, heavy metals, there's been known to have a higher risk of developing Parkinson's disease. You mentioned Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
People who've had brain traumas, repeated blows to the head injuries, also increases their risk of getting Parkinson's disease. And then some of the other environmental things are things like pollution. People who stay in urban areas where you have a lot of cars, a lot of smog, heavy pollution has also been linked to increasing the risk for diseases like Parkinson's.
And I wonder because like I said, I always go back to him because it all played out publicly. He was still able to move to a certain point. At some point, the movement, how bad can it get?
So that one, it varies, to be honest. Some people can have Parkinson's disease and you may not even know it because it's controlled very well with medications.
Okay.
And they are going about their lives just like anybody else, even though when they're off their medications, you might start to see some signs.
Okay.
And then you have other people who have the same Parkinson's disease but are so disabled that they need help with their daily activity. So it's really a wide range in terms of how severe it affects a particular individual. And the second thing too is that it's progressive, like I said earlier. So in the early stages, you may not have a lot of signs, but the more you live with the condition and the more it progresses, the more signs you may start to see. So it's hard to say, especially at the early stages. But what tends to happen is the longer people have it and the more they get disability, it may get to the point in time where they're unable to walk without having falls or losing their balance. So they need things like walking aids. So you see people with frames, with tripods, with walking sticks. Then it may get to the point where they need to be in a wheelchair because they're not even able to do that. So then they move to the wheelchair stage. And then it may even get to the point where they're not even able to get out of bed. And then they need constant care at home and 24-hour care. Another thing about Parkinson's too is that in the late stages, it may affect other aspects of the brain, including the thinking processes, memory, cognition. And then we have what we call Parkinson's associated dementia that some people get in the late stages as well.
Okay. And the question that comes to mind immediately is at what point should I start? Okay. At what point should you start first? Because you talked about the training of health personnel. Are you saying that you cannot get diagnosis at every hospital when it comes to this disease in Ghana?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
But I would say that the number of times we have people who have been sent to us at some of the tertiary facilities,
Okay.
who somebody has maybe suspected
Okay.
Parkinson's disease, but because they were not very confident or very sure,
Okay.
hadn't started the person on some treatment, or at least had the person evaluated
Okay.
earlier than later. So because of that, we really want people to be confident to be able to make the diagnosis, because the earlier the person starts some interventions, the more we can improve their quality of life. But to jump the gun a little bit on treatment, there's so
Okay.
many other things that can be done. I'm sure Henrietta will tell us a
Yeah.
lot of what she does besides medications. So these all come, a lot of lifestyle changes are very important. And the earlier they are all started, the better the quality of life for the person who is affected. So we want all of these things to be diagnosed earlier and intervention started earlier. So our training for the health workers is just to improve their confidence in being able to pick out conditions like Parkinson's disease and being able to say, okay, this person needs to see a specialist, or this person needs to start some lifestyle changes. And then once we start that, have that awareness going on, we improve the quality of life for people who are affected.
For a person like me, at what point should I decide that I need to come to your unit at Kolebu and be sure that I don't have Parkinson's disease? At what point should I start thinking that way?
Okay, so one of the first things you may notice, or will I say, a lot of people complain about, usually, and that is what is most prominent, is what we call the tremor.
Okay.
So some people notice that their hand is shaking when usually it's what we call a resting tremor. So when they're at rest, they're not actually doing anything. Their hand is just maybe on the edge of their chair. Then start notice that it starts to shake slightly. That's usually what is concerning for a lot of people. Like I mentioned, even though the main thing is the slowness of movement, because people expect some slowness as they grow older, we don't see so many people complain about that. It's mainly the tremor, especially when the tremor gets to the point that they are unable to carry out their daily activities, or the slowness gets so bad that people start noticing it or start telling them that, oh, this is happening, or you've changed, you're not doing the same thing you used to do, or your speed is slower. That's usually when people start to seek medical care or medical attention.
Can it be cured completely?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
It cannot. It can be managed effectively to reduce the symptoms, but the underlying process itself cannot be cured.
So what you can help the person through life with is management.
Management, yes.
I see. Very interesting. If you just join us, I've been they have been more focused on Dr. David Brody Menz, who is head of the stroke unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, movement disorder specialist. I also have in studio Henrietta Badu, who is a movement disorders physiotherapist. At what point do you come in, Henrietta?
Yes, so as Doc rightly mentioned, there is care available. It's mainly management when a person is diagnosed with Parkinson's. So actually, treatment comes in what we call a multidisciplinary team approach, where with certain problems that the patient may present, Doc may refer to the physiotherapist, to the speech and language therapist, to the occupational therapist, and then dietitian, etc. So we all have our roles we play. I, as a physiotherapist, what I mainly do is to prescribe exercises, counsel on exercises to help the person diagnosed with Parkinson's to have improvements in their walking, what we call gait, improvements in their balance, improvements in their movements for their everyday activities. Yes, so that is basically what I do. And for the speech and language therapist, they would also help with swallowing difficulties, speech difficulties, because that tends to also be one of the things that's or problems that they may have as the condition progresses. As the condition progresses, they may have challenges with their everyday activities, dressing, buttoning their shirts, etc. So that's where also the occupational therapist comes in.
Okay, so you are not, your specialty is not the only one needed to manage this disease.
Yes, and that's where it becomes costly. There's a lot of research to prove that exercise is also very essential as our medications are. So as Doc said, medication is very, very important to manage the condition. And also, we advise that anyone with Parkinson's has to be very active, live a very active lifestyle, and have regular exercises because it's proven to slow down the progression. Yes, so that's where I also come in as a physiotherapist. Yeah.
And she was just talking about affordability. Where's the cost? Where does the cost barrier come in? Because we have National Health Insurance Scheme. Is it covered?
For the cost, there are two levels, or when I say two stages, one will be the cost to get it diagnosed,
Okay.
because usually there are other things that can mimic Parkinson's disease. So there are some tests we usually want to do to be sure that we're not dealing with these mimics. These may include things like lab tests, like brain scans. Those come at a cost, which unfortunately the large majority of them are not covered under the National Health Insurance. And then there's also the cost of treatment itself. So there are different medications that are used. One of the most common and one of the most effective is what we call levodopa. And that's, again, even though there are activities or there are some advocacy efforts to get it covered as well under the insurance, currently it's not covered under the National Health Insurance. And then, like Henrietta rightly mentioned, there are other things too, other modalities of management. The physiotherapy is one of the main cornerstones, speech and language therapy, occupational therapy. It's not all of those are covered. Some of them are covered. And even for those that are covered, usually it's limited to a number of sessions. After a number of sessions, you either need to get maybe another referral from your specialist or have pay out of pocket for the subsequent ones. So the coverage for that too is not 100%.
I see. Well, there's quite. Now let's move to, because there's the early detection aspect that you were talking about. That when you see tele, you realize that in some cases there are people who perhaps, if they were detected early, management could have started early, and it could have helped them. So, if it is detected early, how would it help?
So the main thing we aim with management, because like I said, unfortunately we can't cure it. The main thing we aim with management is what we call focusing on quality of life. And focusing on quality of life is basically finding out in what way or in what aspects of your life is the disease impacting you the most, and how can we help to improve it. So for some people, that has to do with mobility. For most people, it's mobility, ability to move around, ability to lift objects, ability to hold things, and carry out their work that they were doing, their hobbies, those type of limitations. And of course, if you are somebody who was very mobile, very active, now you have the disease that is limiting you from even leaving the house. It can also have a lot of psychological and emotional impacts as well. So these are the things that usually we focus on with our management. And like I said earlier, everybody is different in how it impacts. So we're trying to see how best we can improve your quality of life. So imagine somebody who has the condition and is diagnosed early, and we're able to restore their mobility. They're able to go out and continue the activity. So even though the disease is progressing, for the first, let's say, 3 to 4 years, they're still able to carry out the activities that they were initially doing before. And compare that to somebody who wasn't diagnosed early enough. And so they lost all that time. They were totally affected by their movement and their immobility, and they're at home. Some people are embarrassed by the condition. They don't want to go out because people will say, what is happening to you? Why is your hand shaking? So these are all the things that early diagnosis and treatment would help prevent.
Have you had a very terrible case of maybe late diagnosis, where you get to a point where after you've met the patient, you realize, oh, this one is far gone?
Yes. I don't want to frame it in the light of far gone, but there are times where we really do wish, that the person had come a lot earlier before it had advanced to this stage. Because another thing that happens too is that the medication levodopa is usually more effective in the earlier stages. In the late stages, it can have its effect diminished a little bit, and there's not really much the medication can do to help. in the late stages. Sometimes it becomes a little bit difficult to even dose it appropriately because, like any medication, it has a little bit of side effects, and those side effects are more common or more prominent in the late stages of the disease. So sometimes when you do see some people, you'll be like, oh, if this had started earlier, maybe they would have had some maybe 2-3 extra years of mobility, or they would have had some more 2-3 extra years of being productive before the disease limited their ability to be functional and contribute to society.
Well, if you just join us, we are talking about Parkinson's because we are getting close to World Parkinson's Day. And we have in studio with us, and let me quickly find the names and share. Dr. David Brody Mens, who is head of a stroke unit of the Kwalibu Teaching Hospital, and Henrietta Badu, who is a movement disorder specialist, and of course from the Parkinson's support group. Henrietta, how important is what you do with the support group to the management that Doc has been talking about? How important is that, having a support group where they get to interact?
Yes, so you remember in Doc's explanation about management, he did mention that due to the embarrassment, sometimes they tend to stay indoors. So support groups actually offer that sense of belonging, that sense of more awareness, that sense of social interaction where you can come out from your home and then also meet others who also have that condition and then share experience. So support groups are very important. We do a lot of advocacy. You remember, it's not fully covered by insurance. It's costly. So even in this year, our theme for our World Parkinson's Day celebration is touching on policy action. And we are going to have the Minister of Health as our guest, Anna. So support groups are very important. We have empathic listeners where you come in and then you feel you have that shared space to share all you are experiencing and get help. Yeah, so we have persons who come and they don't want to talk. It's not by force, but having that idea or that experience that, okay, somebody cares about what I'm going through. Somebody is even managing it much better. Okay, I can learn this tip from this person. It really goes a long way to support their care. Yeah.
And considering the limited knowledge, because myself, the only thing I know is that Muhammad Ali has Parkinson's. That's all I have ever known. In fact, to be very frank, until I was told that I'll be doing an interview, Franklin Kujo got me looking into the Parkinson's matter, trying to understand exactly what it means, what it will mean to Franklin, who I've been interviewing for many years now. Aside that, how important then is the celebration of World Parkinson's Day to ensuring sensitization on the disease?
Yes, so we also want to break stigma.
Okay.
Yes, it's a very essential element in the wellness of persons with Parkinson's disease. The more there's advocacy, the more people know. There's a real story about a young primary student who heard about Parkinson's. Someone came to their school to talk about it, and he realized his grandma was having the tremors. He took his grandma to the hospital, and it happened to be Parkinson's. So the more we reach out, the more stigma is broken, the more people with Parkinson's can come out and let people know that I have Parkinson's, but I'm not Parkinson's. Yes, and this is what I am going through. And then we all support them as much as we can.
How are you celebrating this year?
Yes, so we have a wonderful lineup of programs. The whole of the month of April, we are raising awareness, which is very essential. So we are going to our media partners as we are here. Our first engagements, Radio Gold. We also go to City FM. We have engagements at UTV. We've done a lot of online graphic publications in magazines also. Aside that, on Saturday, this coming Saturday, 11th of April, we are going to have a symposium where we would have a lot of speakers come talk about vital areas about the condition to raise more awareness, to learn. So the whole public is invited at Abilimpe Baptist House. We'll start at 10. By 12, we are done. And after, we would go to Legon to join one of our associates support groups, a Kumasi-based support group in Idaso. They're having a ride for Parkinson's at Legon, an exciting programs let's grab our bikes and let's be there also at Lagos. So we are inviting everybody 11th April this Saturday to join in at 10 at Abilene Bay. Yes.
If there's somebody interested in joining or being part of the support group, what do they do? What should they do?
They just have to contact us, come for the meeting, and then that is the sure way to go. So the support group is not just for persons with Parkinson's, it's also for their caregivers. Yes, because caregivers also go through a lot, having to know that your partner, your family member, your friend has Parkinson's. They also need to be well informed so that they can help support their care. Also friends and then general public who want to know more and support are welcome. So because it's a support group, we also have health care volunteers or health professionals who volunteer. So we have Dr. Budimens here who also helps volunteers. We have Dr. Chawe from 37, and then we have our pharmacist, one of our coordinators. I'm a physiotherapist. So it's mainly we don't pay. There's no dues to join in. It's an NGO. It's free. Every service, every program we have is free for anyone who attends.
I see.
And I think I'll also quickly add that for the support group, one of the things that we as healthcare professionals really enjoy about the support group is that it gives us a chance to really sit down one-on-one with the people affected and the caregivers and have long conversations and education. I mean, not just because a lot of times when you're in the consulting room or when you see them in the clinics, you're limited to how much time and how much you can, communicate within the time you have. But the support group really gives people the opportunity. There have been times when I've seen people who have met at the clinic before in the support group, and in the list of questions that they ask me, and I ask them, so when we're at the clinic, you didn't ask me any of these things. But now they're in a setting where they feel freer to communicate, and sometimes to just having that opportunity to be face to face in an informal setting really helps.
When you said it's not limited to the persons who are living with the disease, also their caregivers, friends who are interested in knowing more.
Yes.
You can all be part of it.
Yes, you can be part of it. Yes. And we also have WhatsApp social media handles. We have a WhatsApp page where we constantly share vital information about the condition. So constantly, day in, day out, we are creating awareness. But for our monthly meetings, they are constant. Every first Saturday of the month at 10 at Abilene Baptist House, we meet so that we can have that social connection and then share the experience.
Well, I'll come back to conclude with you, but let's go and speak to Mr. Franklin Kujo, founding president in Imani Africa. He's one of those who's living with this disease. Mr. Kujo, thank you very much for your time and good morning to you.
As always, it's a pleasure. How are you?
I am fine, and I hope you are too.
I could be better, but I'm grateful for life.
And I recall famously when you disclosed this, you were at pains to assure those who were listening that your brain is intact. You've been writing that on your wall constantly. Why do you keep writing that?
Oh, dear. I think some people assume that once you have Parkinson's, then you've lost it. Because some people see that sometimes they sting your hair. Anyway, Parkinson's differs from one person to the other, right? For some people, when they have the side effect, it's either the hands that shake or some part of the body that moves. Luckily for me, for some time now, my hands haven't shaken for a very long time. And so maybe when people saw that, they thought maybe I'd lost it. And then some people write certain things under my post that, maybe because of the Parkinson's disease, because yes, we can't think through. Then I thought that, look, listen, I need to re-emphasize that, look, the fact that I have Parkinson's doesn't mean that I've lost it at all. And that I must lucid and probably more lucid than the person writing that track, really. So it's a way of mocking people, but at the same time making it lively. And then in a light and a happy manner as well. Thank you.
And for you, what's the most common symptom you have experienced? The difficulty that comes with it for you?
Well, the symptoms actually get aggravated if you're not on the medication, in my case. And I think probably for most people, if you're not on the medication, which is either levodopa, carbidopa, and entacapone combined into what is likely to be called madopa. There's a particular drug called I'm looking at it right now. It's a drug called what's it called, star level. I mean, there are variants of it, by the way. If you are not on that combination of 200 mg, 50 mg, and 200 mg, then somehow your movement could be impaired. In my case, my movement gets impaired after 4 or 5 hours if I'm not on the medication, because it won't. It's actually what it does. That it, how do I put it? Its efficacy gets reduced over time. It's just like taking in alcohol. At some point, you become sober.
Okay.
And then otherwise, if you drink that, then you go into a state of stupor.
Okay.
But in my case, when I take the medication, I'm able to function properly for mostly 4 or 5 hours. I mean, depending on what you eat before. If you eat protein food, fish, chicken is a bit better. If you eat like something like even fish and a bit of meat or anything that has so much protein, either it will not work at all, it will delay in working. And so that's my experience so far. And it makes movement very difficult. It makes movement very, very difficult. Otherwise, you have to keep up with training. I do training sometimes twice a day, a bit of resistance movement, stationary bicycle. Otherwise, I just lie on my back and raise my leg, and raise my head, and then hold this, what I call, should I call it a palm, something like a palm, forgotten the name they give it, but you keep pressing it so that it makes your fingers and palm a bit stronger.
Yes.
So that's how I cope.
How long have you had this?
Well, I'll tell you something. This is the 8th year. Actually, this is the 9th. Should I say? Yeah, this is the 8th year. Sorry.
8 years.
The symptoms started showing somewhere about 6 years ago.
Okay.
I should say 8 years ago. And it became pronounced a little bit, and then it goes away. But it became pronounced, I think, in 2020, January, when I was returning from a trip in London. I couldn't even raise my back at the airport. And it turns out that I then had to come to Ghana, and at the height of COVID, at the same time, I had to see one of my neurologists, very charming, very intelligent lady, Dr. Charlie Kelly, by the way. She's going to be speaking to us on that day, on April 11th. And she was the first person to physically diagnose, it's a clinical session, physically diagnose me. And she said, we are Parkinson's. I said, well, we'll live with it. I had to do other tests. I had to do confirmations on one doctor, whose father actually had it as well, and became a good friend of mine until he passed, I think, 2-3 years ago. He had Parkinson's for 19 years, and we used to meet and share a drink, even while we were kids. And he says famously that Parkinson's won't kill you. But of course, it will make your life a bit more miserable, a little bit miserable sometimes. But also, I mean, if you look on the brighter side of life, then things will be fine. But I need to say one more thing. Studies have just revealed, we heard that actually before you have Parkinson's, before it shows, apparently there's a study that shows that you've had it about 10 years ago. Actually, the signs were there 10 years earlier. So if I had if the signs started showing 8 years ago, which meant that probably 10 years back, can you imagine, 18 years ago, probably there were signs. I would never have seen it. That would have meant that I was 40 years old at the time. I probably did not see anything. But who knows? It differs from one person to the other. I think we need to also know how it gets people attracted, right? I'm sure these are things we'll be learning, but I can just chip in one quick note quickly. It's either through genetics, here it's about 5% hereditary. In my case, my maternal side, almost all of them are dead and gone, but they didn't have Parkinson's, they have stroke. So maybe there's some relations there, but then we have to do toxicity tests to determine whether I've been exposed to chemicals. So all those of you spray chemicals without less of hindrance, every small mosquito you see, you go and spray. Every little you spray. If you add that to the fact that you are living in an environment where there are fumes and all kinds of things you smell in a day, that's double combination for readiness for any of these chronic diseases. I may not say it may be Parkinson's, it could be something else. Because indoor respiratory issues are also problematic in this country. So if you are not careful, and then you get exposed to chemicals unnecessarily, you could attract Parkinson's as well. And by the way, chemicals of all sorts, even the spray you spray on your body. I've advised people to spray on their chest if they want, and probably spray better spray. Don't buy this cheap sprays. Anyway, so I just got to say that look, people should be careful. In my case, they didn't find it wasn't. We did a toxicity test in Ghana and abroad, but I did a large scanning of my brain with European doctors in Spain. Later, if another doctor in Dubai, Italian neurologist, we did all of that and confirmed that this was what it was. So I had no reason to doubt our Ghanaian compatriots, who, by the way, very excellent, Dr. Palu, there's one doctor, there's a lady, neurologist also from community, I've forgotten the first name. Very interesting lady, very aggressive in making sure that we get support for Parkinson's people. She's also doing a program on the day. We're trying to get the deputy health minister to speak at the program. And a few of them, I think he wants to do some stationary bicycle and things as well. So, look, there are interesting people helping, and I thought that is the case. Why not? I should also show my leaders might, which is why we are doing this work. And kudos to my good friends at Paddy's, by the way. Paddy's are just a great group of people who have decided to take this matter up strongly, then showing this kind of support for this group as well. Ethanam and Co are doing great work with the Capital Support Group Ghana. Dr. Chawi, the founder of the group again, I'm just forgetting the name. In Chokoto, I have to remember the name. Ethanam, please remind me. And I think these are people who are doing excellent work that we all need to support. So thank you so much, my brother, for hosting me as usual on this program. That's it.
Let me conclude with one question, because when you put this out, I guess you did this for a particular effect.
Could you speak up again and then ask the question again?
Yes, I was asking, I wonder why you decided to let the public know that you've been living with this for some time. And since you said it, has it in any way helped in terms of putting the disease in terms of the front burner of discussions on radio, among others? Did you achieve the intended effect?
Well, I'll say three things. One, I mean, it relieves me. I get relieved that I'm able to tell people this is what I have. But let me tell you something. When I had this, then my movements were jerky. I remember when I went to a hometown, some relations of mine rushed to my father and said, "Look, we have to do something. This is not real. This is spiritual." They were taking me to Takia Gomez, some place there. We're going to see some spiritualists. Not that I don't believe in the Holy Ghost or any spirit. I do. But I suspect that God has also given us brain to be able to understand how this thing works. And so maybe let's try that rather than get practical about this whole thing. And so that's one of the reasons why I did that, so that at least people eventually will say that, okay, look, if eventually when they got to know that I was on medication, anytime I went to my hometown, they were like, "We saw you do Jackie. Now you're you're walking a bit well." I said, "Well, wait until 5 hours later, you see the same Jackie movement." In any case, the point I'm trying to make is that at least I assure people that, look, this is me. We are human, and then these things happen to everybody in life anyway. And by the way, the second point is that the work I do starts on transparency, right? I mean, at least I should be transparent with my compatriots as to what was happening to me. Imagine people saw me swinging my head on radio, and some people politically on the other side, the alternate side, some were concerned. Others were like, "Well, it's searching right. Look how he's swinging his head like a Batman." All sort of things were said, and I said I was laughing and at the same time being sorry for all those clowns that were saying those things because they didn't know. And so once I said it, everybody shut up. Remember the famous interview with KSM? After that interview, people were like, "Oh no, we didn't know. We are sorry." Did you know what that also did? The doctor Victoria Obese that I'm talking about actually told me that the following day, about 11 or 12 people came to a facility, I think Kumasi, and all of them said, "Oh, they saw me talk about this matter, and they also have the same symptoms. They want to check." All of them had Parkinson's at the end of the day. There are many people who are Parkinson's who are hiding. including educated people, very highly educated. The friends of mine whose parents are very educated, they themselves are highly educated, but they don't want anybody to know their parents' conditions. Well, we are all different, and so I can understand. But you see, it doesn't help the disease, the article, the stigma around the disease. It doesn't help at all. I think what you need to do is to start telling people that, look, this is what it is for you. That's organic anyway. I mean, I remember, what's his name? Muhammad Ali. Yeah, what's his name? Yeah, most people have had Parkinson's. And it's not to say that you are in some sort of glory with those people. The point is that they are human, and we are also human. And so once I had it, I thought I should say it and let people know. The third factor I should say is that when I met President Mahama, and I told him, look, Mr. President, beyond your Mahama case, you need to start thinking about the nature of connections in this country. I'll be happy if you and if your Minister of Health, a kind of great guy, by the way, when it comes to sectors, and he'll be speaking on the day as well, let Akanda help the country by letting a lot more people know, including a deputy by the way, what's the name? Grace Ayen Sibankwa, smart lady. They got interested, and then somehow they think it's not all about money, right? It's also about awareness. If they can through their stations, their whatever, their channels, communicate that look from now on, certain diseases that look like this. When you are examining people, don't say they are drunkards. Because some people have been told that they are drunk, and then they let them go. So general practitioners who do not understand, who do not know how the disease looks like, we say, oh, well, on time now, you'll be fine. So somebody said, this on Google two thoughts. You should just stop it. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's also about eliminating knowledge. So many people do not know. So you see people shaking and think it's either they've been bewitched or whatever I say, or they are drunk. It's not the case. If the presidency or the government can make this clear distinction, then look, add all these chronic diseases to whatever we are deciding to do as a country for healthcare, then we can start looking at the burden of diseases on the economy. Because you see, these diseases are very expensive disease, by the way, especially Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and all of that. All of those diseases should now be put on in a particular spectrum and be watched. If for nothing at all, free diagnosis for people who have it. And by the way, all those of you who think you are sane and wise and manly walking about, I'll recommend that in addition to those who are older, 40, 45, and when you go and do your periodicals, your PSCs, and your whatever it is, the full blood count, I'll recommend that you may like to add the statistic test. It's very important. I mean, we could extract the argument and say that some people should say, well, let's even do some gene, but we've not gotten there yet. I mean, for instance, I should be able to, now that I don't have Parkinson's, I should be able to ensure that it's not passed on to my children and the rest. There's some developed technology that is doing that already now. Well, we are not there yet. I'm not imposing it on Ghana, but hey, I might be getting mine. But it doesn't cost a thing by the way, but the technology is not used. And I suspect that what the government will be doing is to say that look, we'll take the cost of just diagnosing people. But for the toxicity test, maybe the public sector, if it costs maybe 600 cedis, the public can maybe subsidize it by some particular amount. We need to understand the full disease burden, the chronic disease, the burden of chronic diseases on the economy of a country like ours. If we don't do that, then like we're able to do malaria. We're able to calculate the economic cost of malaria on the economy, which is why we are able to fight malaria through, strenuously that much. And so, for me, I think there's a clarion call. People should get on and make sure that they go and do proper tests sometimes. I won't say that everybody should just go and get tested, but I think if you suspect, if you feel strange, movements within your body at some point, you probably want to see a movement with other specialists like Dr. Sawi, Dr. Bestley, and a few other stuff you know about Dr. Apali and the rest. Otherwise, I can tell you that the answer to your short answer to your question, sort of going this round, by the way, is to say that one, there's transparency, two, there's also to bring some sort of elimination to bear that the disease is not one of drunkenness. It's one that can attack anybody. And that the final one is that the state would also probably tinker with the idea of adding that to chronic diseases. At least for the cases of those who cannot even know, those who do not even know they have it. The clinical test should be done so that they can be, at least they can begin to be on the path of some sort of healing.
Great.
I'm sure we'll talk about the cost of medicines sometime later, but thank you very much.
Thank you too. That's Franklin Kujo, founding president, Imani Africa. Our debate will continue on other issues. If you've been listening to me for some time, you know that we speak to him constantly on many other issues. He was just joining us talking about Parkinson's disease. And to conclude our discussion with our guest in studio, Dr. David Brody Menz, what would you advise both to the public, to the state? Because sometimes some of these diseases, some state intervention can help in terms of lowering the cost, among others. What would be your advice?
I think, like we've mentioned severally, that we need to expand the coverage for a lot of our insurance programs.
Okay.
One of the barriers is the cost both of diagnosis and treatment.
Okay.
So I think apart from the advocacy we're doing for awareness and diagnosis, we're also working on the policy aspect as well to see how we can get, one, the medication covered under the National Health Insurance, and two, some of the investigations and diagnosis, and then three, the treatment modalities, the physiotherapy, the speech and language therapy, all the things that go into the holistic management of the condition as much as possible if it can be subsidized or fully covered by our health insurance systems. I think I also want to touch very quickly on the aspect of prevention.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the disease, but there's so many other people out there who must be thinking, how do I reduce my chances or reduce my risk of getting this condition? The good thing about it is that what is good for the brain is also good for the heart.
Okay.
So by trying to prevent yourself from getting some of these conditions, you're also helping your heart health as well, reducing your risk for heart attacks, MIs, and other things. So there are four main things I want to focus on.
Okay.
The first being to have a healthy lifestyle. Be active, exercise as much as possible, at least 30 minutes, 3 to 4 times in a week is the bare minimum. Choose a healthy diet. Avoid salt, added salt at the table as much as possible. Reduce your cholesterol that you eat. Do more of the proteins, healthy proteins. Do more of the fruits and vegetables. 3 will be sleep. Get at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep at night. Easier said than done, but at least if you know this is what you should be trying to achieve or trying to get to, you have a good baseline. And then the last thing would be to know that if you don't have any of the cardiovascular conditions, the high blood pressure, diabetes, and things, screen at least once a year to make sure that if it does develop, it's picked up early enough. And then if you have any of them and you're on medications, please take your medications.
Thank you. Henrietta?
Yes.
What's your message for the public?
Yes, so I would like to thank our partners, PADIs. Thank you so much, Parkinson'S Africa, TRAPCAF, Baptist House. Thank you so much, and our media partners, Radio Good. Thank you so much. And we'll also be having, as part of our campaign this April, we'll be having hospital campaigns. We'll be reaching out to the healthcare workers and then persons or patients who visits Kolebu 37 Tama General Hospital to create more awareness on the condition. So to add up, I would also reiterate the fact that we need a broad insurance coverage for health or for the management of persons with Parkinson's. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And big thank you to Dr. David Brody Menz, who is head of stroke unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, a movement disorder specialist and neurologist. Henrietta Badu is a physiotherapist, or movement disorders physiotherapist, Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Both of them join us in studio. And we had Franklin Kujo on the line on this discussion on Parkinson's disease. So please, we'll put this video up on our YouTube page for the education of the public. In case you want to, you can go back and watch it if there are a few symptoms or signs that you're picking up yourself or with maybe a relative or anybody, and you would like to check to see if it is true. And doc, I guess the advice is once you suspect it, you make sure you get a diagnosis done.
Yeah.
Whether or not it is.
Once you suspect, get a healthcare professional to do at least an initial evaluation. And then if they are also worried, they will tell you what the next steps will be.
Thank you. And that concludes our show for today. And of course, a reminder, the World Parkinson's Day is when? Where are you celebrating it, and what would you be doing on that particular day?
So on 11th April, we are having the World Parkinson's Day, and we are having a symposium at Baptist House at Belen Bay at 10 in the morning to about 12 we are done. So we have the Minister of Health as our guest of honor. I would like everybody to come in and know more about Parkinson's.
Well, so be there and learn something. Well, I'm Sana Nombo from the rest of the team. We'll see you tomorrow with another edition.